Travis Wayne Goodsell. Alrighty, let's get this lawsuit going. To help you with the lawsuit, because, well, let's start from the beginning, I guess, and explain it, just in case none of you have seen the original video I did. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not what they claim to be. They've lied to us. For those of us who have been born and raised in the church, for those who are converts to the church, they've lied and deceived us. They are not who they claim to be. They're not even successors of Joseph Smith. They just claim they are. And this is where the problem comes, is that in the Mormon church, I've always believed there will be a Latter-day Saints, in which we will have a city of Zion for a place of safety, refuge, and peace. It comes from section 45. And there's a time frame, because the church can't just say, well, it's going to be sometime. You just have to have faith. When the prophecies of the signs in the heavens and the other prophecies, such as the coronavirus, section 45 again, were prophesied to come forth, and that the city of Zion needed to be built before this time. And this is what's referred to as breaking your contract agreement. The church had made a contract with us, and they violated that contract agreement because we're in the latter days, because the deadline has come and gone. And now we're suffering because of it. Physically, financially, emotionally, etc. We're suffering. And so the church needs to be held accountable. They can't just get away with it. They're using religion as a front for this deception. And that falls under RICO. But we'll get to that later. This video is for the forms needed to start it off. And so I'll go into the source document, which the church kept hidden from us until they released the Joseph Smith papers online. And then in those Joseph Smith papers is that original contract agreement that Joseph Smith said we must have the mountain cities of Zion and New Jerusalem built before the latter-day deadline. And the church has failed. And it's not because the church is financially broke. Quite the contrary. They are well, I guess you can say, endowed with sufficient funds to build those cities. And they've refused to do it. So that kind of makes it worse, because now we're dealing with financial crimes as well as RICO violations and such. So get into that later. I'm going to take you through this step by step so that you can join in, because the church does not change unless there's a movement that protests and demands that they change. They try to get away with stuff by pretending to comply, but they always throw in something that they hope that the people will overlook, such as taking away the woman obeying her husband with the setting up for polygamy in the future. So the law of obedience, hoping that they would distract Mormons from the law of chastity. So with that in mind, it is helpful that I not do this alone. I need your help. It doesn't matter if you're ex-Mormon. If you've been Mormon, you were under that contract, and the church violated that contract. They owe you relief for damages. And so, unlike Gaddy versus COP, she was demanding that everybody quit the church with an official letter. You don't need that here. This isn't going to be a class action lawsuit, because there will be no judges, or there will be no lawyers taking the case. If you want to do this with a lawyer, okay, but they're not going to know how to do this properly. And when I get to the filing, I'll explain, because even Kay Birmingham, she got beaten up by the church, because the church has a little working agreement with the federal courts here, and so it's going to be complicated. So this is why you need to hopefully trust me. They will try to stop it, obviously, but the more people we get flooding the courts, and you don't have to be Utah. You don't have to be a Utahn. You can be from another state, but you need to understand that there is different things that need to be put on your forms, such as the district in which you are filing and the address of which you're sending it to. Like for example, the Mormons who were victimized in the Boy Scouts by the church are suing the church in Arizona. And so in that particular case, the church then becomes an out-of-state entity that committed the crime in Arizona or wherever else for this particular case. So we'll get to that later. This is the forms you're going to need. There's these forms are the general forms across the nation. So there's no need to worry about finding the site for your state one. This will suffice, even though it's the Utah courts. I'll link it in the description below of where to get the forms. And the first form is under Civil Cover Sheet, in parentheses JS44, and then it's got parentheses 10/2020, Civil Nature of Suit Code Descriptions, and you can click on a hyperlink, and then parentheses 08/2018 and parentheses. The PDF, you click on it, and it brings up JS44. It's got 2 pages. Technically, it's just the first one. The others are the instructions for filling it out. I will go over that with you. And then you either download it to your computer or print it. There are 2 ways to file. You can email the court. We are in a pandemic, and I will go over when we get to that point of how to email the court with the filings. And so if you've got a Word program, that will be beneficial, because they have Word programs to fill out, But because of the pandemic, the Utah courts require PDF submissions rather than the Word submissions. Again, that's things you need to know. Yes, you can go directly to the court and send them in, but it helps if you don't, because of the coronavirus. I understand that you may believe that you've already gotten vaccinated, you're going to be fine, etc. But this is a lawsuit. You need to demonstrate that you have experienced a hardship. And as such, you need to show the court that hardship. If you go to the court, rather than filing it, you are demonstrating to the court that you don't really have much of a hardship. So anything you can do will help to this end. Understand that. The next document that you need to get for the first phase is what's titled Full Pro Se Litigant Guide. And so it's down in the P section. They're alphabetically listed, but this one's titled Full Pro Se Litigant Guide. And so it's after Proposed Scheduling Order. So understand where to find that. And it has the PDF that you can download the whole thing, and then it has subsections that you can download those subsections. If you are unemployed from coronavirus, or you don't work, or you're on SSI or SSDI, you get to use motion to proceed in forma pauperis. This is a form to file without paying the fees. I will also link in the description the fee schedule, the link to the fee schedule for Utah. I assume they're the same across the board, but I would check for your state's court if you're filing outside of Utah. So for example, miscellaneous. It looks like it would be a civil case filing fee. I don't think it's the, civil procedure. I don't think it's the miscellaneous case. No. But it's $402. They've raised the price. So again, yeah, if you don't understand, criminal cases are supposed to be handled by the prosecuting attorney's office. But because the prosecuting attorneys do not want to sue the church, they're compromised. And as such, we are forced to file civil lawsuits. And this helps businesses, because this allows businesses to financially ruin you. If you go through the fee schedule, it's going to be expensive. And so that's why lawyers are also expensive. It would be great if all of you qualified for in forma pauperis. But otherwise, just know that there's going to be expenses incurred. But again, are you going to let the church get away with what they've done? They've placed your life in danger. They've broken their contract. They're profiting off of us. You know, I know there are Mormons who say, so what? Who cares? God's the leader. I'm sorry, God is not the leader if they're criminal, if they're frauding their Mormons. That's not what God does. God clearly wants us to be safe on earth. So, understand that. You don't want motion for appointment of counsel. Yeah, no, don't do that, because the quality will not be guaranteed. The certificate of service, you will, if you are able to file in form of papyrus, you're going to need to be aware of waiver of service form. And then there's also another one for requesting the waiver of summons. And I'm not seeing it immediately here, so I'll get to that when we get to that. So just right now, know of the cover sheet and the pro se litigant guide. Go through your finances to determine if you can afford it, and if you qualify for informal papyrus, I highly recommend helping. I need help, because I can't do it alone. If they get bombarded with lawsuits, that will help, because then they'll be forced to do something about it. And we're filing RICO because under RICO, the federal courts are required to send the complaint first to the Attorney General. We have a new Attorney General now. He's already overloaded. But we have a new Attorney General. That is key. Because Barr, he got my previous filing, as he then made an announcement to other prosecutors to start prosecuting protesters under my sedition filing under RICO. He got my form. So yes, they are required to send the complaints to the Attorney General for disposition, because if there's a legitimate case, they will follow the civil case and potentially file criminal charges. So, wouldn't that be fun?